If you like this, would you please hit the like button and also the subscribe button so that you can get notifications on the great new content we're putting out to help you live a longer, healthier life. Thank you. My name is Dr. Mitch Kennedy. I'm a naturopathic physician. A naturopathic physician is a primary care physician trained in natural medicine, a specialist in natural medicine. I'm also on staff over at the hospital in Farmington. First naturopath to ever practice medicine there, and the only one. So, yeah. Tonight we're going to talk about menopause. It's essentially a change in hormone levels. It's a natural cessation of the menstrual cycle. Usually the average age is between 48 and 52. Some women don't stop until they're 60. Some women start early at 40. There's a lot of factors that enter into that. Chronic long-term stress, for example, will cause your menses to stop and will cause them to stop early. Heredity, if your mother didn't get menopause to 60, there's a big chance that you won't either. And I've seen women that are 68 and still have a cycle. Yeah. So, for women. So, in our culture, growing older is not considered to be as desirable as being young. But in other cultures around the world, the elderly are revered for their wisdom and their knowledge, and they hold a special place in society where they are cherished and sought for counsel and for wisdom. And this sort of rite of passage is marked many times with ceremony, or you become honored and admitted into the group of the elders at that point. So if you need a way to perceive it differently, think of it as a rite of passage and an honored position into being a tribal elder. So.
We just heard a menopause joke.
You did?
Just a couple minutes ago. I'm sure I'm going to blow it. Carol, maybe you could remember.
I don't even remember it.
Something about it's not a problem at all. It's just a hot flashes. It's about hot flashes. It's a little vacation you take by yourself. Obviously somewhere warm, right? Exactly, a sauna.
The other thing I heard is that they're not hot flashes; they're power surges.
Power surges,
right? And there is some truth to that, because many women feel that when they hit that period in their life, they're able to be who they've never felt they could be before, because they have sort of nothing left to lose, or they feel like this is where, now it's my time and I'm going to be myself regardless of what anybody else says. So, that's another sort of metaphorical way to look at it. There are actually three parts to menopause. There's the climacteric part, which is when the menstrual cycle becomes irregular. Then there's the actual cessation, where there is no period anymore. And then there's the postmenopausal, which is generally speaking about 12 months after you've had your last period. So you don't really know when you went into menopause until you haven't had a period for more than a year. And some women will go and skip a month and then they'll be done. And then some women will skip a couple months and then have a couple more and then skip 1 month, and they'll be very irregular for a while, for maybe years sometimes, and then stop. And then I've even had one patient who thought she was in menopause and then later on found out she wasn't.
Really?
Yeah. No. I'm sorry, Lori, I didn't start. I usually start out by saying thank you to our hostess, Lori Lee Love, owner of Granby Village Health, which is where we are tonight, and we are videotaping this for people who couldn't be with us.
Sure. Wave at the camera. Just don't show that I have a cookie.
So, just so we know. Hi, come on in.
Take one chair for you, right there. For you.
And believe it or not, men go through a change also.
I believe that.
Most women notice when their man goes through what it's called andropause. I don't know why. I mean, menopause for women and andropause for men. But it's a decline in hormones. And we're going to talk about hormones at the end. natural hormones, synthetic hormones, should you take them, should you not. But just so you know that it happens to both genders, it's just more pronounced in women. So because of that, men can develop the same problems that women do during menopause. So what are some of the changes of a decrease in hormone levels?
I've noticed for myself, and I find this really frustrating, more weight gain in the stomach area. I never had that really before. I've always had kind of chunky thighs, but never had a waist really, and I'm just uncomfortable with it. Just not used to that.
Okay.
And it seems like when I need to start doing more to just keep that down.
Okay. So maybe a change in the metabolic rate, weight gain in different areas.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Grumpiness.
Grumpiness. Okay. Sleeplessness, insomnia. Yep.
It gets better.
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
I was gonna say
Okay. Anything else?
migraine headaches.
Migraines. Okay. Changes in body temperature, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What about bones? Bones, right? Everybody says that your 40s are your last decade of building strong bones on your own. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit. Libido. Some people
What's that?
see what's
What's that?
desire. So some people say there's a lack of desire after that certain period of time or during that period of time, and other people say they don't notice anything. Infections. Interestingly enough. Yep, infections. Yeast infections or bacterial infections. It could be vaginal or not. There is an interesting Chinese correlation, which we'll draw upon in a little bit also, about the qi of the body and how it protects the body. We said frustration or anger, other anxiety, depression, mood, meaning, could be up and down, change very frequently and very quickly. So that's, see, I think we got everything there.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like fun, right, yes. And what's the conventional treatment? Everybody was on HRT. In fact, some women are on birth control pills starting in puberty all the way up until they hit menopause, then they're on HRT until they pass away, right? So that was the conventional sort of what they call standard of care or practice of medicine. And then there was controversy. July 9th, 2002, there was the release of a very large study. 16,000 women were studied. And they found an increased risk in certain kinds of cancers. And it was to the extent that they actually stopped the study. They took the women off the hormones because there was so much risk. And of course, this got out into the media. The media stirred it up, right? And so at that time, when I was practicing, I saw a lot of people coming into my office saying, "Get me off of these things." And I'm sure Lori saw this too. A lot of people coming in here asking about soy, red clover, all this stuff that was coming out that was supposedly natural and better. And it's true. People who study medical issues study it repeatedly, meaning that they look for repeat outcomes, if you will. So even though there were 16,000 women in this one study, that wasn't enough. Okay, so other researchers started studying HRT, and a year later they came out with another one where HRT was associated with an increased risk of stroke and dementia. And then another one a few months after that it doesn't actually, being on HRT doesn't slow the progression of heart disease, which was something they had always said it did. And then over in Britain, there was one that was done, says that long-term HRT doubles the risk of breast cancer. So, and then there were, about the end of 2003, there were a lot of news from Europe, because this went all the way around the world. And the news was that Netherlands and Germany were planning on banning the use of HRT in postmenopausal women. So you could be on it for a very short period of time. I think they had said 3 to 12 months, and then that was it. It's a little different than over here. So what I think has happened now is people have kind of pulled back a little bit from prescribing. When I say people, I mean other doctors. Pull back from it being sort of a reflexive or standard of care reaction is to just automatically give you a script for estrogen or estrogen and progesterone, and to ask you what you want to do. Have you seen that? Has anybody been offered, say, would you like to?
Yes.
Because it used to be, here you go, you have to take this or your bones are going to break and you're going to die, right? Now it's much different. And
So you have a choice.
you have a choice, right? Right.
Of course, you're going to say no.
So what are some of the alternatives that we can do? That's why you're here, right? You're like, why are you asking me? I came to hear you. Well, you must have heard of something, right?
Black cohosh.
Black cohosh, okay.
I take the dim.
Dim,
that has-
diindol methionine, yep.
And wild yam.
Wild yam, yep. Bioidentical hormones. What about human growth hormone? No? Nobody here is going to admit to being on that. Human growth hormones used by celebrities all over the world. It's very expensive. It's injectable. There's a lot of companies out selling amino acid combinations. Amino acids are proteins, basically. You know, by blending certain amino acids together, you can supposedly create growth hormone. Over time, your body creates and secretes less and less growth hormone, and people who are longevity experts or longevity fanatics, the people who want to live to be 120, 130, they want to do growth hormone, and they think that it's good for everything, including menopause. So, HGH, have you heard of DHEA? Mm-hmm. There's another longevity hormone, pregnenolone. Okay. There's a lot of Chinese remedies, Remiana. No? Okay. So those are all sort of, things you can take. You can pop pills all day long if you want, right? Whether it's vitamins, herbs, or prescription meds, you're still basically taking a substance. What about some things you can do that are like lifestyle things, do you know? Exercise more.
Eliminate caffeine.
Okay, eliminate caffeine and alcohol, all those fun things, cigarettes, tobacco. Yep. Anything else? Yoga? Yeah, yoga's good. Yeah. Take more baths. I like that one. Why do those work? Why do those things? Why does yoga work? Why does taking a bath work?
Relax. Less stress.
Yep. And what does stress have to do with, say, hot flashes? Engages what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. You heard of the fight or flight response, right? That's the sympathetic nervous system. That's the one that when someone startles you, you go, oh, what was that? Parasympathetic nervous system is what happens when you sleep. You relax, you drool on the pillow, you snore, if you're me. But you're healing, and you're relaxed, and the arteries are nice and relaxed, and your muscles are relaxed, and the flow through the kidneys and the liver is all nice and calm. When we go through our day, are we like that, or are we some other way?
Some other way.
Some other way, right? We're like, I'm late, right? We're tense, yeah. So, who knows what the hormone is that comes out and is secreted when we're tense? Cortisol, right? Yep. And who knows where cortisol comes from? It's kind of a trick question. What? From your adrenal glands, yes, it does come from the adrenal glands. Do you know the hormone that it is changed, that cortisol is derived from, or that hormone is taken and changed to make cortisol? I wouldn't expect you to, but if once I say it, you'll be like, ooh, progesterone. Oh. So there's something called a steroid hormone tree, and this is how your body makes all the hormones in your body. And it starts with cholesterol, which is why you need cholesterol. Okay, so cholesterol is right at the top, and then from there it goes to something called pregnenolone. Okay, so try to keep this in your, I don't have a board to draw on, but try to keep this in your mind. So it's cholesterol, pregnenolone, and then it splits. On this side is progesterone, okay, right here. On this side is DHEA, right? Then if we go down from progesterone over here, on one side is cortisol, and on the other side is something called aldosterone. Now, if any of you had PMS while you were going through your early 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, and you got swelling or edema prior to your period, that's a certain type of PMS that has to do with aldosterone, because aldosterone is a water retention hormone. Okay? So that's that side. Over on the other side, underneath DHEA, we've got estrogen, which everybody knows about, and testosterone. Okay, so and testosterone's, steroid for men to become rare, but it's also the libido hormone. Okay? And it's also one of the hormones they think has a lot to do with memory and the ability to feel sort of secure and like not ready to fight, but confident and comfortable being right here in the moment. Whereas when people are anxious, they tend to feel like they should run and hide, right? So that's the steroid hormone tree. And so if you're under a lot of stress all the time, all that cholesterol is shooting down this way, going through progesterone and into cortisol.
Yes.
So what do you think happens to the rest of the tree? It's depleted, right? If you only got so much cholesterol per day and you're constantly going like this all the time, it's going to go all over here and you're not going to have any over here. What happens to hormones after you use them? You secrete them out. How does that happen?
Sweat
Some of it comes out through your sweat, yep.
through your urine.
Through your urine, through your bowel movement. How does the hormone get from your blood into those excretions? Through an organ. Which organ filters blood the most? The liver, right. Now here's the Chinese part. In Chinese medicine, every organ has an emotion attached to it. Okay? So for the heart, it's the emotion of joy. For the lungs, it's the emotion of grief. For the kidneys, it's the emotion of fear. You want to guess what the liver is? Anger. Not so much rage, but like frustration, like being, that's liver. So you can either have things out in your environment that you react to as an angry person, or you could have hormones in your body that are getting bottled up and stuck in the liver that could, in Chinese theory, create a sense of frustration and anger. So one of the ways to treat some menopausal symptoms is to treat the liver. Okay. So if you're having hot flashes, what time do you usually wake up in the middle of the night if you're having night sweats and hot flashes? 2? 2-ish? If we had 100 women who are all going through menopause and had symptoms and we surveyed them, the majority of them would be waking up between 1 and 3 a.m. You want to guess what time on the Chinese time wheel the liver is most active?
3.
1 to 3. 1 to 3, yeah. So every organ has a period when the qi in the body is the most active in that organ. So for the liver, it's 1 to 3. And so, like if you drink a lot of coffee, right? And you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep. It's because your liver is busy trying to process what it didn't get to process before. Same with hormones. What do you do to treat the liver? Well, obviously you can really pare back how much you're putting through it, right? You can cut out all your coffee, cut out all your alcohol, you can take baths, do yoga. Could you do some other things? Are there some liver herbs you might take that might help the liver? Milk thistle, yep. What's another one? Everybody digs it up in their yard every spring. Dandelions. Which part? The root.
Yeah, dandelion.
The root. The root helps the liver process bile. The leaf is a diuretic, meaning it'll make you go to the bathroom, pee more. So you got that. You've got burdock is another good one. I mean, there's a whole family of herbs that are called cholagogues, which are basically herbs that stimulate bile flow. So and that's what the liver does. It takes the blood out of the veins. It gets filtered through the cells of the liver, and part of it becomes bile, and part of it passes on as lymph, and the rest is just regular blood that's been cleaned. And so bile is a combination of waste products and special salts to help us digest fats. The bile goes to the gallbladder squeezes, it gets dumped into not the big intestine, but the small intestine, all right? Mixed with the food to help digest the fats and absorb the fats, and then passes into the large intestine and out, supposedly, right? But what happens if we're constipated?
Just sits there.
It sits there. And what do you think happens?
Reabsorption.
Yeah, the purpose of the colon is twofold. One is to hold things and eliminate things, to have a place to put the stuff before it leaves, right? But the other thing is to dewater it so we don't have diarrhea all the time. So it's dewatering what it's holding. If it's holding something too long, it takes out too much water. If you're not drinking enough water, then it's got to take that water out of the stool. What does it also take out? Well, it can also take out metabolized forms of certain hormones, like estrogens, progestins, cortisols, testosterones. They're not the brand new active ones. They're the half used up ones, and they can recirculate through the blood. And they can get into the receptors. And you've got receptors for hormones all over your body, and they can sit and they can block those receptors so that the new hormones can't get in, or they can stimulate the receptor in a different way, and in some cases create cancer, right? And it's one of the reasons why we think breast cancer forms, is that there are chemicals we take into our body that stimulate breast tissue more than estrogen does, or they act like estrogen. Right? So then you need a perfect bowel movement is what you need, right? That's what should be going through your head. How do I get that perfect bowel movement so I can make sure I'm getting stuff out in a timely manner, right?
So you're saying if it sits in there, that's when it's drawing these extra leftover hormones and redepositing, or I don't know if the word's redeposit, but it's getting back into
circulation, yeah. I mean, there are bacteria in your gut that are also helping break down or reactivate hormones. And so it's not quite as simple as, if it sits in the bowel, it's just getting all sucked back in. But it's a good way to kind of summarize it. So who knows what the perfect bowel movement is?
Well, Oprah says it has to be shaped like an S.
Shaped like an S.
That's what it says.
That's great. Yeah, Oprah says, therefore that's it. We're all done. We can go home now. So the perfect bowel movement, this is the gold nugget, so to speak, of the night. None at all. None at all. Although it's good if it's golden brown.
Yeah, right.
You want to have at least one a day, right? If you're not going every day, then you got problems. You want it to be about this big, 10 to 12 inches long. I think she says S-shaped because if it's that long, it doesn't all just fit in the bowl, right? So it's got to sink to the bottom of the bowl, right? It's got to be medium brown. It's got to come out without any pain, blood, or mucus, right? Because if you've got pain, you probably have hemorrhoids. If you've got blood, you probably have hemorrhoids or colon cancer. And you don't want mucus because that's a sign of irritation to the gut as well. Then it should come out without too much gas also. If you have too much gas, you probably have a imbalance of the bacteria in the gut, in the colon. And that's the perfect bowel movement. So if you got that, you got it going, right? It's good. Good. What are some of the things you can take to make sure you have a good bowel movement?
Pre and probiotics.
Pre and probiotics, yep.
Fiber?
Fiber, what kind? Two kinds, right?
Yeah.
Soluble and insoluble?
Soluble and insoluble, yep. So which one do you want?
Insoluble?
Insoluble, yep. So what's a good insoluble fiber? Brand's good, yep.
So
Psyllium's okay.
flax.
Flax, that's what I'm looking for.
That's the one.
Ground flaxseed is excellent for women.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Especially if you take the fresh seeds and you grind them yourself in like a coffee grinder. More importantly, it binds hormones, in particularly estrogens. In fact, there are studies out there showing that it is as good as tamoxifen in post-breast cancer tamoxifen therapy, yeah.
How much is necessary for that effect?
1 to 3 tablespoons a day. So one with every meal, or put it all in once and slug it down.
But you need to grind it?
Yeah, it should be ground.
What about if you just take lignin?
Yeah, I mean, I like to use things as close to the source as possible. So I'd say go get the flaxseed and grind it. And, you'd be better off because we don't know everything, right? We tend to be arrogant that way, and we think, oh well, this is what it is. It's the isoflavone in the soy. We can throw away the rest of the soy. All you need is the isoflavone. Well, it turns out that's not true. You know. So I think flax is, flax. Okay, let's talk about bones real quick, because everybody knows you got to have calcium, right? What else do you need to build strong bones?
Vitamin C.
Magnesium, B vitamins, maybe.
D.
D. Oh, she said D. Yeah. How much D? We have some people who are D deficient. How do you know if you're D deficient? You get a blood test. What's the number you want? Does anybody know? Depends on what lab you go to, actually. Isn't that interesting? So you go to some labs, you'll see 30 to 120. You go to another lab, you'll see 20 to 100. Or you might see 16 to 76. I think vitamin D is like the unspoken cure-all miracle supplement of the world. I really do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why real fast. Everybody knows it strengthens bones, right? Also helps with wintertime blues, right? If you didn't know that, now you do.
Prevents cancer.
8 different types of cancer, not just prevents cancer. We're talking 8 different types of cancer. We're talking colon cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, breast cancer, testicular cancer, lung cancer, certain types of skin cancer. Did I say colon? Yeah. So anyway, cancer, number 2 cause of death in the United States, right? So here's something you can take or get, help prevent that.
Don't you have to have it?
But wait, there's more.
Excuse me.
Also lowers blood pressure. Also fights and prevents the common cold, including the flu. Oh, how about that? Right? So how much? Well, I tell my patients get tested in September. The studies I've read on cancer prevention say you got to be at 70. All right? It doesn't matter too much, a little bit on either side, but you should be around 70. It's a very safe level. I find blood levels to go up when you take oral vitamin D. Some people have horrible absorption. Their guts are just totally wrecked. They can't absorb anything. They can't absorb calcium, magnesium, B vitamins, C. They can't absorb D or E or A. Toxic levels are very high. One of the lead researchers has been studying vitamin D for almost 40 years now. He routinely gives 50,000 units as a prescription vitamin D pill once a week for 6 to 9 months sometimes. So it's very, very high levels and very safe.
Like one dose, 150,000 IU dose a week?
Yeah. Yeah, if you go to a conventional doctor that will prescribe vitamin D for you, they'll write the prescription vitamin D, which is 50,000 units. Vitamin D is key for maintaining bone strength postmenopausally, also for preventing cancers postmenopausally. So there you go. I say measure yourself in September, see where you are. You can orally take 2,000 units as an adult very safely every day until May. I put all my patients on September to May 1st on about 2,000. So
And any particular type, like the D3?
it has to be D3. What do you know about soy?
It's complicated.
It's complicated. Yes, it is complicated. Soy is touted as a sort of strengthens your bones, prevents against breast cancer.
Aren't there
Can
conflicting studies with
go ahead.
breast cancer?
Oh yeah,
Soy?
that's the controversy. Yeah, because like I said, people who study medicine and study disease like to do lots of repeat analysis, like to do studies after studies after studies, and so you get some that show that it promotes breast cancer, and some that show it prevents. Now, traditionally, where has soy been eaten?
Orient.
In Asia, right? Right. Okay, so how do they eat it in Asia?
All forms?
Largely as a bean or as a bean curd. Do they have it every single meal of the day? The answer is no. They will have it sparingly as a protein source, but not their exclusive protein source. So vegetarians who are eating just soy hot dogs, soy hamburgers, soy ice cream, soy cheese, soy milk on their cereal, not only are they getting all sorts of different kinds of soy, unless they're very careful, they're probably getting genetically modified soy. So that's not the historical use of soy either. And then you've got soy supplements. So you can take the soy isoflavones, right? And everybody says, well, it's the isoflavones that strengthen the bones. Well, it may be, but it may also be some of the other components of soy. And if you have a history of breast cancer, and especially if you have a history of estrogen positive breast cancer, or you have the Ashkenazi Jew gene, you may not be doing yourself a service to take soy. So it becomes very individual. Sorry it's not clear cut, but generally speaking, the doctors in my profession say I think it's 85 grams a day is or more is protective, and something less than that could potentially not be protective. But every year that I hear something, it goes back and forth, so it's still really out. The jury's out, so to speak.
Does soy interfere with thyroid medication?
Yes. Does soy interfere with thyroid medication? It can in large doses. Like the person I was just describing, the vegetarian who's subsisting on soy. It'll shut the thyroid right down. Yep. It'll shut your thyroid down, or it'll shut down the medication, stop it from working. Yep. You know what else interferes with thyroid? One of the hormones we're talking about? Estrogen. Estrogen is what's called goitrogenic, meaning it downregulates the thyroid. So some people who have thyroid problems have it because they have too much estrogen. Let's quickly talk about hormones, because it's a good place to end. You've got bioidentical hormones, which in my clinical experience have been nothing more than pharmaceuticals specifically compounded by a compounding pharmacy. So I'm not a fan of bioidentical hormones. I prefer to move the liver, address lifestyle issues, and supplement with herbs for as long as it takes, but not any longer. In some cases, giving hormones is a good idea. DHEA is one that I use if there's no history of breast cancer. Pregnenolone is one that I use if we're uncertain about the history or the risk. And pregnenolone and DHEA can be very easily measured in blood tests. So there's risks to using hormones, all hormones, whether they are the natural kind or they're hormone-like substances like soy, or they're the pharmaceutical kind. And I think you could draw an increasing line of side effects and reactions from the ones that are synthetic, but the other ones are not without side effects also. I mean, you've got little things like acne, irritability and insomnia, all the way to hair growth and tumor promotion. So, I mean, this is a declining amount of hormones is the natural cycle of the human. And our vanity tends to get in the way of that sometimes. And then there you have life extension people who think, well, we should live to 130, that's our natural lifespan, and we're going to do that by taking HGH and DHEA and just keep pumping ourselves up to the level we were when we were 20. No one's been around long enough to know if that's a good idea yet or not.
How do you feel about cleanses and detox?
I love cleanses and detox.
Okay.
That's one of the things I do. Being a specialist in environmental medicine, I do very complicated cleanses and detox. Help pull metals out of the body like mercury and lead, contrast dyes, gadolinium, things like that. So if you've had a lot of MRIs, it's still in there. They tell you it passes through, and I used to believe that. And, over the time, I've run so many tests on people that this stuff keeps popping up, so it's still in there.
So you can tell by taking the test that you still have it.
Mm-hmm. You can tell when it's gone, too, by taking the test.
What can that do to your health?
We don't know.
Oh.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there's too many long-term studies of gadolinium, because the FDA approval tests deal with short-term doses. You know, you go into the hospital, they inject it in, they take the picture, and they say, oh, it's going to process by your kidneys and go out. What calcium do I recommend? I like liquid calcium because I have a lot of patients who don't like or can't swallow pills. If you can swallow pills, I'd say get capsules with a loose powder inside over a tablet. The tablets, you're not even going to be able to dissolve, because they have very hard coatings and waxes on them, and have artificial dyes, and those things just go right through you, especially if you don't have a very good digestive system. That's the order, is like liquid, and then there's also chewables. You know, if you don't mind the calories of a caramel chew, you know, you could do caramel chews. Then powders or encapsulated powders would be next, and then tablets would be last. So you've been a great audience. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
You're welcome. If you like this, would you please hit the like button and also subscribe button so that we can send you updates on all the great new content we're putting together so you can live a longer and healthier life. Thanks.